Raihan, and I've been working with Professor Drain and Professor Francis Stoney at the Hunter Lab, Chemistry Lab, for the past 4 years. And today I'm going to present to you on some accumulation of the data we collected over the past 4 years. So the first 2 years that I worked there, we worked with porphyrins and how we looked at how porphyrins could make new dyes for solar cells, and published our paper on that. And in the next 2 years, we worked with phthalocyanines. So the bulk of this presentation is going to be on phthalocyanines with some porphyrin data. This year, we're just primarily focused on writing the paper instead of doing any synthesis or research. So this is data collected over the past 4 years, not this year. Before we begin, I want to tell you guys about global warming. Global warming, as you all know, is a serious issue these days, and the main issue is that the harmful greenhouse gases that's released in our atmosphere. And so basically we need to figure out a different way to produce energy that's safe and clean. So of course our lab, we looked at the sun and what we can do with the sun. So we looked at solar cells, and my professor so we looked at solar cells, and my professor started looking at solar cells, and he asked why are people using solar cells these days. I mean, he doesn't use it, we don't use it, and the main reason is that they're very expensive. The ones that are out there, they're expensive, and they're not very efficient. So we decided to come up with a new model for the solar cell. We're not engineers, but we are chemists, so we are working with the basic top layer of the solar cell, which is responsible for collecting sunlight and turning it into energy. And basically, we were trying to make this chemical out of something that's organic, so that it's cheap because it's available everywhere. And when it decomposes into something that's clean and bio-friendly. So we looked at porphyrins. So this is an image of a porphyrin. We looked at metal-based porphyrins. So this is your porphyrin, that red line, and then that red dot is the metal. So what we realized is that when you add metal to a porphyrin and then put it onto an oxide surface like this is TiO2, titanium dioxide, it acts as a semiconductor. So basically the sun rays would fall onto this porphyrin, the electrons inside the porphyrins would get excited, and electrons would jump into this metal. This metal is a transition metal. In our case, it was hafnium or zirconium metal. And then those electrons will fall onto this titanium dioxide, which acts as a semiconductor. So that was our project for the first 2 years of our research. And after we intensively worked with porphyrins, we realized that there are other chemicals. And there's another chemical that's out there that's called phthalocyanine that has the same chemical properties as porphyrins. They're both photoconductive, and so we started working with those. So before we go on to that, I want to talk to you guys about porphyrins and give you some background information. Porphyrins are four-sided organic complexes. There are many different types of porphyrins, and they're basically found in nature, in chlorophylls, in your blood, in vitamins, and they're responsible for doing a lot of those processes that require energy, that require electron transfer, for example. So plants use a magnesium-based porphyrin in their chlorophyll that's basically responsible for collecting sunlight and turning it into energy. I don't think I have a picture of that. But the idea is that there are many different types of porphyrins out there, and they're very important in our biology. The one that I used is called tetraphenylporphyrin. This is how it looks like. For short, I'm going to call it TDP. This is a picture of a phthalocyanine. Unlike porphyrins, phthalocyanines basically look like this. They don't have many different types of phthalocyanines. These are pictures of different things you can do with phthalocyanines. Most usually, they're not used for photoconductive purposes. They're usually used as dyes. And actually, phthalocyanines were discovered by accident by a chemist who was playing around with a bunch of chemicals and he discovered phthalocyanine. But one thing that I want to point out to you guys is that phthalocyanines, unlike porphyrins, see, these porphyrins have these benzene rings that are coming out of their structure. So these benzene rings spin, which makes this porphyrin a little less stable than the phthalocyanine, which doesn't have these benzene rings. And so this phthalocyanine compared to the porphyrins are very rigid. So working with the phthalocyanine, our hypothesis was that it's going to be a lot harder. It's a lot harder to change phthalocyanine into something you want than a porphyrin. So, although we're not engineers, I do want to give you a basic layout of how a solar cell looks like. So this is the basic of a solar cell, or at least a Rockefeller type solar cell. That's the ones that we are working with. I don't know how all this stuff works, but what our project is primarily based on is in this region. So if you zoom in, all these blue dots that you see, those are the dyes, and those are the things that we're working in. These are either phthalocyanines or metal-based porphyrins. So the blue dye is what goes over here, in this line. And the red, the white circles, the clear circles that you see here, are the TiO2 surface plates. These are the TiO2 nanopowders. That goes on top, right under the dye. And then you have a conducting glass. And then after that, all this other stuff that goes along with the solar cell that we're not very concerned with. But this is basically what collects sunlight. So the sunlight falls onto this dye gets excited. Electrons flow out of this dye onto the TiO2, which then falls onto the conducting glass. And then you have a series of oxidation reduction going on within the solar cell. So the methodology, you start with your porphyrin that has nothing inside of it, it's just regular TPP. And you put in a metal inside of it. So in my case, I put a zirconium. Once you do that, you take that, and then you put it onto a TiO2 oxide plate. We also work with this other chemical compound called polyethylmalate, which mimics oxide surfaces, but I'm not going to go over that because that's a totally different topic. But basically combining porphyrin with a polyethylmalate, you can have crystal structures, and you can have beautiful picture structures. This is a porphyrin, a metal-based porphyrin from the side instead of the top here. So after doing this with the porphyrins, you repeat the whole procedure with phthalocyanines. So this is the synthesis for the metal porphyrin. So first you take 2 milligrams of your TPP, 200 milligrams of TPP, and you dissolve it into something that it likes. So we used chlornaphthalene. And then you heat this up for a while until 200 degrees Celsius. And then you add your metal. So for me it was zirconium. We also work with hafnium. So you add either zirconium or hafnium onto this, and then you boil this for another hour. And what you end up is a tube full of black stuff, and that most of it is junk. Some of it is your product. So what you have to do is run it through a column. I don't think I have a picture of the column. Anyway, so you run it through this column, the silica column, and you wash all of this with, first you wash it with methanol, which dissolves all the junk out. And then you wash it with DCM, which dissolves some of the stuff that wasn't dissolved in methanol out. And whatever's left off is your product. And this product, the way you get it out of the silica gel is you wash it with a mixture of DCM, methanol, and acetic acid. And what you end up with is things that look like this. And then when you dry it, this stuff becomes powdery. This side of the slide is this side of the slide tells you the synthesis for the polyester melody, which I'm not going over today. But if you do have any questions about polyester melody, feel free to ask me after the presentation. Phthalocyanines were a bit different. Like I said before, phthalocyanines are a lot more stable than porphyrins. So what we realized is that unlike the porphyrins, we can't just stick a metal inside them. So we needed to do some extra research, and we decided to start off with the metal and basically make phthalocyanines around it instead of starting off with phthalocyanines. So what we realized is that there's this compound called dicyanobenzyne, and it looks like this. And when you put in methyl-naphthalene and heat it up for a while, it becomes like this. So if you have this stuff and then you put your metal inside of it and then you react it for an hour or two, this stuff starts reacting with the metal, and eventually you get a phthalocyanine. So again, you have a tube full of junk and your product, and you need to wash it with something. So we wash it with toluene and then methanol, and what you have in there looks something like this. So this is a picture of a silica gel column, and you can see like this stuff is your junk. And you throw this out, and then you wash it with toluene and methanol, and you get this. This is what we want. Unfortunately, this has two chloride ligands, and we don't like that because having a chloride ligand makes this product very insoluble in things that we like. And we need this to be soluble in something so that we can react it with the TiO2. So what we decided to do was wash this again with a mixture of DCM, methanol, and acetic acid. And what that does is that it takes off the two chloride ligands and adds two acetate ligands. And this final product, this polyacyl metallated diacetate, is very soluble in DCM mixtures and methanol mixtures. So results. This is results from like 2-3 years ago. The zirconium TPP was difficult to make, obviously, because that was my first year doing any synthesis. But we made it, and it worked fine. And when we put it onto a TiO2 oxide surface, it wasn't hard at all. It was a 1-hour reaction. Working with the phthalocyanate, short, PC for short, was very tough, and that's because of the rigid structure of the phthalocyanate. But we made both hafnium-based phthalocyanines and zirconium-based phthalocyanines, and we also put them onto a TiO2 plate, and that worked perfect. Everything on my slides that you see that are red is porphyrins, and everything that you see that's blue is phthalocyanine. That's how you differentiate between phthalocyanines and porphyrins. Porphyrins is very red color, and phthalocyanines are very blue.